We often feel the urge to control the reactions of others, especially when we've been wronged or disrespected. But this focus on external validation is one of the greatest energy drains we face. No matter how much we want someone to understand us, apologize, or change their behavior, we can't control that. What we can control is our own response. And the more we focus on our own actions, responding with integrity, setting boundaries, and letting go of the need for validation, the more we conserve our energy for things that are truly within our control. Another critical element of energy protection is prioritizing self-care. Rest, relaxation, and time spent doing things that rejuvenate you are non-negotiables. When we're constantly engaged in managing others' expectations or responding to every conflict, we neglect our own well-being. Protecting your energy requires creating space for yourself. Whether it's taking time to meditate, enjoying a walk in nature, pursuing a hobby, or simply having a quiet moment of solitude, these acts of self-care recharge your batteries and replenish your emotional reserves. It's also important to recognize that protecting your energy isn't just about what you keep out, it's also about what you allow in. The people, environments, and media we engage with can either uplift us or drain us. Sometimes protecting your energy means limiting exposure to toxic people or situations. Other times, it means cultivating relationships that are nourishing, supportive, and empowering. Surrounding yourself with positive influences helps maintain the balance you need to stay centered and resilient. Ultimately, protecting your energy is about prioritizing yourself in a way that honors your well-being. It's about understanding that your peace, happiness, and sense of self are not negotiable. You are the steward of your own emotional resources, and it is your responsibility to ensure that you are not depleted by forces outside of your control. When you protect your energy, you not only preserve your peace, but also increase your capacity to engage fully with the world from a place of strength. You become more present, more intentional, and more resilient. You teach others how to respect your boundaries, and you show yourself that you are worthy of the time, energy, and respect you desire. In a world full of distractions and demands, protecting your energy is not a luxury, it is a necessity. By preserving your emotional, mental, and spiritual resources, you create the space to live a life that is aligned with your values, your goals, and your sense of purpose. And in doing so, you become the strongest, most authentic version of yourself. In a world full of words spoken, written, and implied, actions often carry more weight than anything we can say. We are surrounded by constant communication, from casual conversations to social media posts, and yet the true measure of a person is found not in their words, but in their actions. What we do in moments of conflict, challenge, and disrespect speaks volumes about who we are and what we stand for. When we are disrespected, the temptation to respond in kind is strong. The urge to justify ourselves, defend our dignity, or retaliate can be overwhelming. It's easy to want to use words to prove a point, to show that we won't tolerate being treated poorly. But words are often fleeting, and their impact can be temporary. Actions, on the other hand, have a lasting resonance. What we choose to do or not do carries far more significance than any verbal response we could offer. One of the most powerful ways to respond to disrespect is through the strength of our actions. When we choose not to react impulsively or out of anger, we send a message that is both quiet and profound. My worth is not dependent on your behavior. This isn't about shutting down or becoming passive, it's about acting in a way that aligns with our values, regardless of how others treat us. Instead of sinking to the level of the disrespectful person or engaging in an escalating conflict, we elevate the situation by choosing a response that demonstrates self-respect, composure, and emotional intelligence. In this way, actions become a reflection of our inner strength and character. Every time we choose to maintain our integrity, even in the face of disrespect, we reinforce who we are and what we stand for. a kind word, a calm response, or simply walking away, these actions all speak louder than any defense or argument we might offer. They show that we are in control of our emotions and that we refuse to be dragged into unnecessary conflict. In this moment, our actions demonstrate the depth of our self-worth, not through what we say, but through how we behave. The beauty of letting actions speak is that they often have a far greater impact than words. We've all heard phrases like actions speak louder than words and talk is cheap, and these sayings hold a great deal of truth. While words can be easily manipulated, misunderstood, or dismissed, actions leave a clear, undeniable trail. When we stand firm in our values, choose calm over chaos, and prioritize our peace, our actions become a testament to our character, regardless of the negativity around us. In contrast, responding to disrespect with words or arguments often leads to more tension, more misunderstandings, and more emotional exhaustion. Words, though powerful, can be misinterpreted. They can inflame the situation and escalate conflict. And more often than not, they can leave us feeling drained, as if we've given away a piece of ourselves to something unworthy. Actions, however, are not just about words, they communicate a state of being. They say, "This is who I am. I will not be shaken," whether it's a composed silence, a calm assertion of boundaries, or simply choosing to disengage. Actions reflect a deeper understanding of self and a refusal to let external disrespect disrupt our inner peace. The truth is, when we allow our actions to speak, we show the world what we value. If we value respect, we act with respect, even when others don't show us the same courtesy. If we value peace, we choose peaceful responses. If we value our time and energy, we disengage from toxic situations. Our actions communicate these values in a way that words often cannot. They become a reflection of the principles we live by, serving as a silent but undeniable message to those around us. In the long run, actions are the most powerful way to influence change. It is not by fighting every battle with words that we win respect. It is by consistently demonstrating who we are through our choices. People watch how we act in challenging situations. They notice whether we succumb to negativity or rise above it. And over time, our actions build a reputation based not on what we say, but on what we do. When we let our actions speak, we stop looking for validation through words. We stop seeking approval from others, and instead, we focus on acting in alignment with our truth. Whether or not others recognize it, we find fulfillment in the integrity of our actions. Our sense of self-worth no longer depends on how others respond to us, but on the simple fact that we have acted with authenticity, compassion, and grace. Moreover, actions often inspire others. When we choose to act with dignity in the face of disrespect, we model the behavior we wish to see in the world. Our actions encourage others to rise above petty conflict and to embody strength through composure. By letting our actions speak, we contribute to a culture of respect, mindfulness, and emotional intelligence, one that encourages people to act with integrity, no matter the circumstances. In moments of disrespect, there's an invisible battle being fought, one over how the situation will be perceived, who holds the power, and how our worth will be defined. Often, the narrative in such moments is set by the actions and words of others, and if we're not careful, we can easily slip into a role we never intended to play. Disrespect tries to dictate how we feel about ourselves, but we have the power to redefine that narrative, to shift the focus away from the negative actions of others and back to our own truth. The first step in redefining the narrative is understanding that we are not passive participants in how others treat us. Disrespect, while hurtful, does not define who we are unless we let it. When we react impulsively to disrespect, when we respond in kind, we are allowing someone else's negative energy to shape our emotions and actions. But when we choose to pause, when we respond with composure or silence, we reclaim the narrative. We become the ones who decide how we want to be seen, regardless of the disrespect being directed at us. Reframing the situation is a powerful tool in redefining the narrative. Instead of seeing disrespect as an attack on our value, we can choose to view it as a reflection of the person who is disrespecting us, not ourselves. When someone behaves poorly, their actions are often a reflection of their own struggles, insecurities, or inability to communicate effectively. Disrespect speaks more to their lack of emotional intelligence or their own pain than it does about our worth. By shifting the focus from our own perceived failure or inadequacy to the reality of their behavior, we take the power back. We no longer allow their actions to control how we see ourselves. Redefining the narrative also involves letting go of the need for validation. We live in a world where external approval often dictates our sense of self-worth. In moments of disrespect, the temptation is strong to seek validation, whether through an apology, an explanation, or a defense of our character. We may feel the urge to set the record straight and make sure the other person understands our value. But in doing so, we are putting our emotional energy into someone else's perception of us, leaving us vulnerable to being defined by their limited view. By redefining the narrative, we let go of this need. We stop seeking approval from others, and instead, we base our sense of worth on our own standards. We validate ourselves through our actions, our integrity, and our values, not through the validation of others. Another important aspect of redefining the narrative is the power of choice. We can choose how we engage with disrespect. Instead of reacting immediately, choosing to pause allows us to detach from the situation and regain control. By responding thoughtfully, whether through silence, a calm statement, or a firm boundary, we create a new story. We become active participants in how we want the situation to unfold, rather than being passive recipients of someone else's actions. This shift gives us the power to move from a victim role into one of empowerment. When we redefine the narrative, we also create an opportunity for growth. Disrespect, while painful, can be an invitation to examine how we allow others to treat us, how we communicate our boundaries, and how we view ourselves. It becomes a mirror that reflects areas where we might need to strengthen our self-worth or set clearer boundaries. By using the moment to grow, we rewrite the story of the situation. We transform it from a negative experience into one that fosters self-awareness, resilience, and personal development. Moreover, redefining the narrative allows us to change the impact that disrespect has on us. There's a moment we've all faced the sting of disrespect. It might come in the form of an unkind word, a dismissive gesture, or an outright insult. And in that moment, the instinct to fire back is almost overwhelming. It feels like responding will restore some balance, reestablish dignity, and make things right. But here's the truth: our dignity doesn't come from how others treat us. It comes from how we choose to respond. Staying quiet after disrespect is not a sign of weakness, it's a profound act of strength. Silence is not submission, it's space. Space to breathe, to reflect, and to decide what truly deserves your energy. Because not everything does. Some disrespect is born of ignorance, some of insecurity, and some of pure malice. None of these deserve the gift of your peace. By staying quiet, you protect something precious, your energy. You refuse to let someone else's lack of respect define your actions or mood. And you show a profound commitment to yourself, your values, your focus, and your growth. This doesn't mean you ignore or tolerate harmful behavior. Staying quiet doesn't equal complicity. It means choosing your battles wisely. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that celebrates quick comebacks, witty remarks, and vocal confrontation, silence can be seen as weakness. But in reality, silence is one of the most profound demonstrations of strength. It is the ability to resist the pull of impulsive reaction and choose intentionality instead. When someone disrespects us, our natural instinct is to defend ourselves, to push back, to prove them wrong. It's an emotional reflex rooted in our desire to protect our dignity. But true strength doesn't lie in proving anything to anyone. True strength lies in knowing who you are and not allowing someone else's words or actions to shake that foundation. Silence in this context is not passive. It's deliberate. It's the space you create to decide how much power you are willing to give to another person's disrespect. Reacting immediately might feel like reclaiming control, but often it's just the opposite. Reacting puts your energy in the hands of someone who doesn't respect you in the first place. Staying silent, however, keeps the power firmly with you. When you stay silent after being disrespected, you are sending a clear message: I am not easily moved. I will not be reduced to someone else's level. I know my worth, and it doesn't depend on their validation or acknowledgement. This level of self-assurance doesn't come from what you say in the heat of the moment. It comes from the inner peace that silence fosters. Silence also gives you the time to reflect. What is this situation asking of you? Is it worth your energy to engage, or is it better to let go? Reacting immediately closes the door to this kind of clarity. On the other hand, silence opens a space for perspective. It allows you to assess the situation without the cloud of anger or frustration. Moreover, silence often speaks louder than words. It's a powerful nonverbal response that leaves others to contend with their actions. Disrespect thrives on attention and engagement. When you refuse to engage, you deny it the fuel it needs to grow. In that moment, the disrespect doesn't diminish you, it highlights the other person's behavior. And here's the most powerful part: silence protects your energy. Every time you react to disrespect, you give a piece of your peace away. Over time, this can drain you, leaving you feeling exhausted and disconnected. Silence, on the other hand, acts as a shield. It preserves your focus and allows you to channel your energy into the things that truly matter: your growth, your goals, and your well-being. It's not easy to stay silent in the face of disrespect. It takes discipline, patience, and a deep sense of self-worth. But every time you choose silence, you choose yourself. You choose not to let someone else's negativity define your day, your emotions, or your sense of self. Silence is not weakness. It is a quiet but powerful declaration of your strength. It is your way of saying, I am in control of my life, and no one else's actions or words can take that away from me. In a world that often demands noise, choosing silence is the ultimate act of courage. In the rush of everyday life, everything demands immediate attention: conversations, decisions, actions, reactions. We are conditioned to respond quickly, often without taking a moment to think. But there is an extraordinary power in the pause. It is the space between stimulus and response, the moment when we step back and choose how to react, if at all. The power of the pause lies not in the time it takes, but in the awareness and intentionality it invites. When we pause in the face of disrespect, we allow ourselves the gift of clarity. We step out of the emotional flood that threatens to overwhelm us and give ourselves a chance to process the situation with greater mindfulness. This act of taking a breath literally and figuratively holds the key to responding thoughtfully rather than reactively. Disrespect, by its nature, seeks to provoke. It triggers an emotional reaction, whether it's anger, frustration, or hurt. Our reflexive response is often to fight back or defend ourselves, to show that we won't be diminished by someone's words or actions. But when we pause, we create distance from that initial emotional impulse. We don't allow the disrespect to pull us into a storm of reaction. Instead, we center ourselves, grounding our emotions and thoughts before deciding the next move. In this pause, we regain control over the situation. We reclaim our power from the external event and direct it inward. We shift from being a passive participant in the drama of disrespect to an active creator of how we want to respond. The pause allows us to stop, breathe, and refocus on what truly matters: not the hurtful words or the person who spoke them, but our own sense of dignity, peace, and self-respect. The pause also gives us the opportunity to assess the bigger picture. Is this a moment worth reacting to, or is it better to let it slide? Disrespect can often be fleeting, a reflection of someone else's stress, insecurity, or bad day. By pausing, we give ourselves the chance to recognize whether this moment is truly about us, or whether it says more about the other person's state of mind than it does about our worth. Moreover, the power of the pause isn't just about preventing a rash response. It's also about recognizing the potential impact of our words and actions. If we react impulsively, we may escalate the situation, adding fuel to a fire that could have easily been extinguished. But when we pause, we give ourselves the space to choose a response that is measured, composed, and aligned with our values. It might be silence, it might be a calm statement, or it might be setting a firm boundary. Regardless of the choice, the pause ensures that it comes from a place of wisdom and emotional maturity, not from reactive anger or hurt. In the midst of disrespect, the pause also allows us to protect our energy. Every time we react impulsively, we risk losing our peace, becoming entangled in the drama of the moment. But by pausing, we preserve our energy, refusing to let the negativity of another person drain us. We decide not to let their actions dictate how we feel. The pause gives us back ownership of our emotional landscape. Taking a pause isn't always easy. It requires emotional intelligence and self-awareness. It demands patience and discipline. It asks us to trust ourselves to believe that we don't need to prove our worth in every moment of conflict. But the more we practice the pause, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more empowered we feel. The pause is a small yet mighty tool that allows us to rise above disrespect and maintain our integrity. It is the space between the storm of external events and our calm, intentional response. In that space, we become aware of our power to choose not just how we react, but how we show up in the world. We stop reacting out of habit or impulse, and we begin responding from a place of strength, clarity, and purpose. Ultimately, the power of the pause isn't just about holding back or remaining silent. It's about choosing how we show up for ourselves and others in moments of tension. By embracing the pause, we step into our highest selves, making decisions that reflect our true values and preserving our inner peace, no matter what comes our way. In a world that constantly demands more of us, more time, more attention, more emotional investment, it's easy to forget one of the most vital aspects of well-being: protecting our energy. Our energy is not just physical, it encompasses our emotional, mental, and spiritual resources as well. And yet, too often, we allow other situations, people, or even ourselves to drain us without considering the long-term cost. Protecting your energy isn't just a strategy, it's an essential practice for living a life of clarity, purpose, and peace. When we are disrespected, the natural instinct is to fight back, to defend our dignity and self-worth, or to make the other person understand our point of view. But every moment we spend in reaction to negativity, we deplete a part of ourselves. Every word exchanged in conflict is an investment of our energy, one that may not be returned in the form of mutual respect or understanding. The act of protecting your energy is about recognizing that you have the power to decide where, how, and with whom you spend your emotional, mental, and physical resources. It's important to remember that not all energy is equal. Some interactions, relationships, and environments give us a sense of connection, growth, and vitality. They inspire us, lift us up, and support our overall well-being. But other situations, especially those steeped in disrespect, negativity, or drama, are emotional energy drains. They leave us feeling exhausted, frustrated, or deflated. And while it's natural to encounter conflict in challenging moments, continually engaging in these draining exchanges takes a toll on our inner peace. Protecting your energy starts with awareness. The first step is recognizing when your energy is being depleted. It's easy to ignore the subtle shifts in how we feel, especially when we're caught up in the chaos of daily life. We may find ourselves responding to disrespect, even when it's not worth our time, or investing our emotions in situations and people that don't align with our values. But awareness is the key. Once you recognize that your energy is being drained, whether through external conflict or internal struggle, you can take steps to replenish and protect it. The next step is setting boundaries. Boundaries are an essential part of energy protection. Boundaries aren't walls, they are guidelines that protect your emotional and mental health by clarifying what you are willing to accept and what you are not. They are not about shutting others out, but about preserving your own peace. Whether it's telling someone that their disrespect is not acceptable, stepping away from a situation that isn't productive, or taking time for yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, boundaries help you manage where your energy flows. Without boundaries, we risk giving too much of ourselves to others, leaving us empty and depleted. With clear, healthy boundaries, we ensure that our energy is used wisely, not squandered on things that don't serve us. Protecting your energy also means choosing your responses carefully. Instead of allowing someone's words or actions to define our emotional state, we regain control by creating a new story. The narrative isn't about who wronged us, but about how we respond. It's about recognizing that we are not at the mercy of others' actions, but that we have the power to shape how we react, how we feel, and how we move forward. When we take ownership of the narrative, we also change the story we tell ourselves. Instead of ruminating on the hurt, frustration, or anger caused by disrespect, we focus on the strength and dignity with which we respond. The more we practice redefining the narrative, the more we strengthen our emotional resilience. We stop letting disrespect define us, and we start defining the situation on our own terms. This shift in mindset not only empowers us in moments of conflict, but also transforms how we engage with the world. By redefining the narrative, we reclaim our power. We stop allowing the actions of others to dictate how we feel and who we are. Instead, we choose to act with integrity, compassion, and self-respect. We become the authors of our own stories, shaping our emotional responses, defining our boundaries, and living in alignment with our values, regardless of the negativity that surrounds us. In the heat of a moment of disrespect or conflict, it's easy to focus solely on the immediate reaction. The urge to defend ourselves, to retaliate, or to prove our point can feel overpowering. However, the true victory lies not in winning the battle of the moment, but in the long-term outcomes of how we choose to respond. The long-term win isn't about proving someone wrong or securing an immediate sense of validation. It's about the cumulative effects of our actions and decisions over time, which shape our emotional resilience, integrity, and self-worth. The first aspect of the long-term win is understanding the value of patience. In moments of disrespect, it's tempting to react impulsively, to immediately defend our position or lash out in response to hurtful words or actions. But in doing so, we risk compromising our peace and allowing others to dictate our emotional state. When we practice restraint, choosing to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting on impulse, we lay the foundation for greater emotional resilience. Each time we resist the temptation to engage in unnecessary conflict, we strengthen our ability to remain composed in future situations. Over time, this ability becomes a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges with grace and clarity. The long-term win also involves prioritizing emotional intelligence over immediate satisfaction. In the moment, we might feel justified in responding to disrespect with anger or frustration, but this response often leaves us feeling drained, upset, or regretful later. Instead, when we focus on managing our emotions, taking a breath, choosing our words carefully, or simply walking away, we protect our inner peace and build stronger emotional maturity. This shift away from reactive responses leads to a greater sense of control over our emotional well-being in the long run. As we practice this, we become less vulnerable to external triggers, more centered in our responses, and ultimately more resilient to life's ups and downs. Another key component of the long-term win is the concept of self-respect. Every time we choose not to engage in petty conflict or respond to disrespect, we reinforce our own sense of dignity. The more we align our actions with our values, the stronger our sense of self becomes. When we let go of the need to prove ourselves to others, we stop giving our power away to external forces. Instead, we honor ourselves through our choices, regardless of how others behave. This act of consistently choosing respect over reactivity cultivates a deep, lasting self-respect that isn't contingent on the approval or recognition of others. Over time, this self-respect strengthens our inner foundation, making us less dependent on external validation and more rooted in our own worth. And the long-term win also comes from creating and maintaining healthy boundaries. By setting limits on what we will accept in terms of treatment from others, we communicate clearly what we value and where we stand. Boundaries are an act of self-care, and every time we enforce them, whether through silence, a firm no, or choosing to disengage from a disrespectful interaction, we protect our energy and emotional resources. Over time, these boundaries foster healthier relationships, reduce emotional drain, and prevent the erosion of our well-being. They send the message to ourselves and others that we are worthy of respect, and we are not willing to tolerate behavior that diminishes our peace. In addition, the long-term win involves the development of resilience through consistent practice. Each time we face disrespect or difficult situations with composure, we build emotional strength. Like muscles growing stronger with exercise, our ability to remain calm and grounded in challenging situations strengthens over time. The more we practice responding with intention rather than emotion, the easier it becomes to navigate future conflicts with a steady heart and mind. This resilience becomes part of who we are, a resource we can rely on in every aspect of our lives, especially in moments of difficulty or stress. There's also a powerful cumulative effect of the long-term win in terms of our relationships. By consistently choosing to rise above disrespect, to respond with dignity, and to prioritize peace, we model these behaviors for others. Our actions speak louder than words, and as we consistently show respect for ourselves and others, we influence the dynamics around us. Over time, this creates an environment where respect becomes the norm, where others feel safe to engage in healthier, more constructive ways. This ripple effect of positive behavior contributes to more fulfilling, authentic relationships built on mutual respect and understanding. Finally, the long-term win requires a shift in perspective, seeing the bigger picture. In the moment, it might seem important to win the argument or to make someone understand our point of view, but when we take a step back, we realize that what matters more is how we show up for ourselves. Our worth isn't determined by the opinions of others or by winning isolated battles. Instead, it's determined by the consistent choices we make that align with our values and our vision for the kind of person we want to be. The long-term win isn't about winning in the traditional sense. It's about building a life that is aligned with integrity, emotional maturity, and self-respect, which ultimately creates a lasting sense of peace and fulfillment. Choosing the long-term win means consistently investing in the best version of ourselves. It means practicing patience, emotional intelligence, and self-respect in every interaction, whether big or small. And it means recognizing that the immediate impulse to react isn't the path to peace, but that the long-term choices we make, those grounded in our values and integrity, are what truly shape the life we want to lead. With each mindful decision, we move closer to a future defined not by the conflicts we encounter, but by the strength and resilience we cultivate along the way. In conclusion, choosing silence over reaction, protecting our energy, letting action speak, redefining the narrative, and focusing on the long-term win are not just strategies, they are practices that empower us to live with integrity, strength, and self-respect. Disrespect may be inevitable in life, but how we respond is entirely within our control. Each time we choose to rise above negativity and engage with composure and clarity, we strengthen our emotional resilience and reinforce our own sense of worth. By embracing these principles, we no longer allow others' actions to dictate our emotional state. Instead, we create a space where our peace, our values, and our dignity remain intact. In doing so, we not only transform how we engage with the world, but also build a foundation for long-lasting personal growth and fulfillment. And the true power lies in our ability to maintain our composure, preserve our energy, and choose the response that aligns with the person we are becoming, one mindful choice at a time.